Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Chels Cora. Today I'm talking about Step 9 in 12-Step Recovery. Step 9 in 12-Step Recovery states, "Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others." So let's get one thing straight. Making an amends is not the same thing as an apology. It's not going to someone and saying, "I'm sorry, I did X, Y, and Z." Although that's what a lot of people end up doing, and that's okay too. But the point of an amends is not about regret or sorrow. It's about what can I do from this present moment on to amend or mend the relationship between me and this person who I had previously trespassed against. In recovery, there are 3 types of amends. A direct amends, which is taking personal responsibility for your actions and confronting the person who you would like to reconcile with. An indirect amends, which means finding ways to repair damage that cannot be reversed or undone by doing things like volunteering and helping others. And finally, a living amends, which is when you show others as well as yourself that you have made a genuine lifestyle change and are making a commitment to yourself and those that have hurt you that you will and have discarded your previous destructive behaviors. Now, I'll give an example of each of those that I had to make after I sat down with my sponsor and determined which category each of the people in my list would fall under. So first, the direct amends. When I was about 18, 19 years old and really in the throes of my addiction, I cut off communication and contact with a lot of people from my family. I didn't really have a good reason for doing so. I just didn't want to talk to them anymore. And I know that this was extremely hurtful for many of them. One person who I never confronted this with after I even started showing back up around my family again was my sister. So I reached out to her and asked to talk to her on the phone. It's not quite enough to just do it in a text message or a Facebook message or something like that, although that the details are something you'll talk about with your sponsor. And I told her, like, hey, I want to take accountability for my behavior in this area, and I would like to know, how can I show up better in the future? What can I do to make this up to you, to mend the relationship between us? And these conversations, when it comes to direct amends, can be very scary because we don't know what the other person is going to say. It takes an incredible amount of vulnerability to admit that we did something wrong. It can be super nerve-wracking. However, most of the time, what my experience has been, and the experiences I have heard in the rooms of AA of other people who have made direct amends, is that we tend to really blow it up in our minds and we come up with the worst possible case scenarios, like they're going to reject us or they're going to be so angry that I did this thing they didn't even know that I did. And more times than not, they are just really grateful to see that you are doing well, that you're sober, and that you're making an effort to repair a relationship. This isn't always the case. There are also stories of people where their worst case scenarios might come true, but eventually, over time, when you stay in the program and you stay sober and you keep showing up for yourself and for others in a new and improved way, those relationships usually will rebuild at some point. And if not, we turn to acceptance, as that is quote unquote the answer to all of our problems. Next, I'll talk about an indirect amend that I made. What comes to mind is I had a pet dog when I was growing up, and in my teenage years I would be sometimes kind of mean to this dog. I remember one time he was sitting in a room that was separate from me, and there's like this door to his room, which was also the laundry room, and it was like a half door, like the door had been cut in half so that Max could kind of interact with us without coming all the way through. And one time I was throwing his dog toys at him, just to get a response, just to see him bar his teeth and growl because I don't know why I did that. It was really mean, and I wish that I didn't do that, but I did do it. And at the time of making my amends, this was one of the things that came through. It doesn't have to be just about other people. It can be about other beings in general. And there was no way to make an amends to him since my dog had passed on many years prior to me making my amends. So what my sponsor had me do was make a donation to an animal charity of my choice. So that's an example of an indirect amends. And finally, I'll give an example of a living amends. So when I was working as a stripper, not that long ago, but when this happened, it was kind of long ago. It was right after I first got sober, and I was working at the club, and I got in an altercation with another dancer. Basically, I had made a sale with a client, and we were going to go to VIP, and there was another girl who it seemed like was trying to interject and steal my client, steal my sale. And in the moment, I got really heated and I felt the need to stand up for myself. So I ended up physically pushing her out of my way. Oh man. And I ended up getting in trouble with management and all this stuff. But at the time it felt justified. And then I talked to my sponsor about it, and she worked with me on it, and this was before I was on the 9th step, but by the time I got to the 8th and 9th step, I realized that, okay, this is something where I did something wrong because I was overly reactive. Like, the customer had already chosen me, we already solidified the sale. Her coming in and trying to interject wasn't going to change that. There was no need for me to get physically aggressive. Even if she was going to steal the sale, getting physically aggressive is never a good option. Putting your hands on someone is not a good option. So I realized that I needed to be held accountable for that behavior. And when it came to doing my 9th step, my sponsor asked me, okay, what would happen if you gave a direct amends to this person? Trying to feel into whether or not it would cause harm or injury to others. And I just was very honest about the fact that I felt like this person was particularly unstable, and there's no telling how it would go if I went up and made an amends for this particular event. So my sponsor just said, okay, we're going to do a living amends instead. And part of my living amends is to never act out in violence, even when I feel like somebody is crossing me or not keeping their side of the street clean. I have to always keep my side of the street clean and stay in integrity and honor that. So that's what I do today. Meditation helps with that because I don't get so angry anymore. I know that when somebody is lashing out at somebody else or at me, it's because they're coming from a place of hurt themselves. It takes a hurt person to hurt someone else. So when I think I'm standing up for myself and giving revenge and giving justice by getting physical, it's actually not true. They're already in so much pain because it takes being in a very painful place for somebody to act out and do something malicious to another person. So those are some examples of my own personal 9th step, and the principle behind the 9th step is discipline. What is discipline besides the commitment to carry something out, to stay committed to putting action behind your word and actually doing what you said you were going to do? So clearly, it's one thing to write down the list of people you need to make amends to. It's one thing to become willing to make those amends, and it's a complete other thing to actually go out and do it and to make these amends one after another, no matter how many you have. So employing the principle of discipline will be very useful for step 9. That's my experience, strength, and hope with step 9. If you have any comments or experiences of your own with step 9, please share them with me in the comment section below. Please give this video a like, a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and subscribe to my channel for more inspirational, spiritual content to come. Thank you so much for watching.